another episode of Ask the Wizard streaming live. Been a while. I guess, I don't know, Christmas break and all that kind of stuff. This one has been in my awareness for a while. And this is really valuable in that there are two voices that anxiety has. And in the show today, I'm going to explain what they are and probably more importantly, how to combat them. All right, starting the 5-minute timer now. Get comfortable, grab a coffee, and we'll see you in 5. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Wizard, streaming live. Just let me play around with a few things. Just change the camera up a little bit. We're crooked. Hold on. Now we're good. Oh, and where me? Over there. My background isn't matching, but that's okay. We'll make it work. Okay, how's everybody doing today? Good? Don't mind me. I'll just finish getting dressed. Oh, which button goes where? I think we got it there. There we go. Cool. All right, what's new in your world? Simulcast on YouTube and Twitch, of course. Let me think. It's been a while, I guess. Let's see what else. I download the shows and I upload them to Spotify. So Ask the Wizard Coach on Spotify. You can find me there. Let's see what else. You know what? I can't think of anything else. I need to move my mind. I've changed things up a little bit, so I just need to move this to about there. So I'm looking at you. This is something that, it was clarified, I guess, in the last little while here. I find it interesting that I was mentioning this to somebody just the other day. How when you watch, I don't know, documentaries or whatever, movies, TVs, things like that. So the doctor or whatever is talking to the patient. I'm going to say things like, "Do you hear voices?" It's kind of like, if you do, we got some big issues. But what's interesting is we all do. We all hear voices in our head. And that's what's kind of interesting about it is their anxiety has a voice. And it has two, maybe not so much two voices, but two strategies that it uses. And identifying these two strategies and then ways to really combat them. I was going to say manage, and that's a true word too, but just really combat them are so powerful. For our purposes here, you can think of anxiety as a sentient being inside your head. In many respects, I've used this term a lot in the different classes. It's like a mini me. You've got a little mini me inside your head, and you have many mini me's inside your head, just so you know. And they're talking to you. So in this case here, anxiety, when it is triggered or activated, it has a voice, and the voice is speaking to you. So I guess this is another way of identifying, and it doesn't just apply to the voice of anxiety. It applies to many of them, but for our purposes here, it really is like a version of yourself that is speaking to you. And it's really interesting that I find once you start to identify these and start to manage them, you'll actually be able to sort of almost, I was going to say compartmentalize, which is true, but a different connotation than is commonly referred to, is you'll be able to put them over here and over here and over here and say, okay, you're that one, and you're that one, and you're that one, and then you know how to manage the voices in your mind. So for our purposes here, anxiety is talking to you. So that's one of the ways, first of all, to identify that it's anxiety and not you. You see, in order to have a conversation, there has to be two people, right? And I find this, when you first think about this, you kind of do this a little bit, because there's all these voices in your head, and because it's a conversation, it's just you. Because it's a conversation, which side of the conversation are you? And when you think of it that way, that's really is what's happening. There's you, your soul, your spirit. I call it your I am voice, and that's first person. Right? I am going to do this. I'm thinking about doing that. That's first person. And then there's all these other voices inside your mind speaking to you. So that's the first thing to identify. Not, again, just for anxiety, but for our purposes here, for anxiety. First thing. So what are the two voices, or maybe a better way of saying it, what are the two strategies that anxiety uses? The first one is it will take a little nugget of information. Now, I'm not going to say truth. I'm not going to say fact, because we don't know this. It takes a little nugget of information, and it takes that nugget and it builds this huge story based on this one little nugget of information. Not facts, not truth necessarily, information. And it'll build this massive story, and it's telling you this story. And the story invariably is focused on the future. It's interesting that, yes, we feel anxiety in the present moment because of all physical sensations we feel here. But anxiety wants us to focus on the future, wants us to focus on a future event or outcome, wants us to focus on a future event or outcome that guaranteed is not one that we want to have happen. It's kind of like the sort of the ultimate storyline that anxiety tells is you're going to die. I mean, that's kind of it. Like, the world is over, life is over. They really love worst case scenarios. And so they'll take this tiny little nugget of information and they'll create this massive story around it that ends in calamity and disaster every single time. Right? So that's the first strategy. The second one, and this is really interesting, is it will fill in the blanks, again, with its own story. So you'll get pieces of information about something, but not all the information, right? So maybe it's an encounter, maybe it's, you overheard something that had happened, right? Somebody's telling you, well, this has happened, and it maybe is referencing you or something like that. But you don't have all the pieces. Like, you don't have all the information. You just have, sort of bits and pieces of it. And there's some blanks, right, that need to be filled in. Because let's say somebody comes to you and say, hey, we had this, I overheard this conversation a couple of other people are having, and they were mentioning you in it. So, yeah, okay, well, have a nice day. See you later. So you're going, well, what the hell? What were they talking about? What did they say? Well, okay, so they were having a conversation about me. So this is you now. This is you talking, right? They were having a conversation about me. So what were they saying? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it is? And then here's what happened. Here comes anxiety talking to you now. See how that works? And it's talking to you. And guess what? It starts filling in the blanks. It says, oh, well, they were probably saying this, and they're probably doing that, and they're probably talking about this. And then what it will often do is it will bring in information again, not facts, not truths, information from the past. Now, this is really interesting, too. One of the most fallible aspects of your life experience and mine is our memories. We think that we remember something that happened or an event that happened. We think that. But our memories are the furthest thing from an accurate recording of an event that there is, for a whole variety of reasons. For purposes now, we'll just stick with that. So what anxiety will do is it's going to take and it's going to prophesy this calamity as it's filling in the blanks. It'll often bring in stuff from the memories and go, oh, right, yeah, remember, so these two people, they had a conversation about you, you don't know what it was, you're filling in the blanks. And then it'll go, oh, yeah, remember that time that you accidentally cut that one person off in the parking lot? Just weird-ass shit, right? Oh, that's probably it, and then it's this and this and this and this. But the thing to remember is, first strategy of anxiety, it's getting a little bit of information, create a big story. Second strategy is it fills in the blanks. When you don't have all the information about an event and about something, anything like that, what it will tend to do is it's going to fill in the blanks. And the outcome of either one of these is calamity and disaster. So one of the ways to identify the two voices of anxiety, two strategies of anxiety, is take a seed of information, create a story, fill in the blanks of a story that you don't have all the information on, and in both cases, they end in calamity and disaster. Okay, so what do? The first thing is you learn to identify when it is the voice of this sentient being inside of you called anxiety talking to you. I mean, that's the first and probably most important thing. There's your I am voice. That's your power voice. That's your creative voice. And now here's this voice talking to you. So to identify, see, so in my second example, it wasn't you going, I wonder what they were talking about. That's you speaking. Okay, that's cool. Maybe I'll find out. Then there's anxiety speaking to you. So that's the first thing to remember, is it's going to speak to you and it's going to feel like crap. Why is it going to feel like crap? Because it's all ramped up to have you ending up in calamity and disaster. That's what it does. Now understand that when that happens, and believe me, easier said than done, right? Understand when that happens, it's not the voice of wisdom. It's not the voice of logic. It's not the voice of rationality. It's the voice of anxiety. And anxiety knows how to do only one thing, and that's calamity and disaster. It's kind of like, I got my coffee here. Drink coffee. Okay, that tastes like coffee. This is the only thing this knows how to do. This coffee that's in this cup right now, it's always going to taste like coffee because that's what it is. In this case, I happen to like it. But it just coffees. The voice of anxiety, just anxieties, just calamity and disaster. That's all it knows. So it's not so much your enemy, but you can really turn it into one in so many ways. So identify when that's coming, that it's the voice of anxiety that's speaking to you, and it only knows one thing, and that's calamity and disaster. So every story, filling in the blanks, taking the seed of information, creating the story, they're all going to have the same outcome. Then they have very little to do. I think I could even say nothing to do with, again, facts, wisdom, rationality, logic, anything like that. Because again, coffee's anxiety, just anxieties. That's just what it is. So to me, that's the first thing, is identifying these two strategies and then identifying anxiety talking to you. So I can choose to listen to that. A better way to say it mechanically is I can choose to give it my focus and my attention and my power, in which case it gets bigger and stronger, or I can resist it. Now, when those things happen, you're probably not going to be able to shut it off. Because ironically, in shutting it off, what are you doing? You're actually giving it your attention and giving it power. But by simply knowing that it's the voice of anxiety and not your I am voice, you can now make some decisions. To me, one of the biggest ones is, see, because anxiety, it's really ironic because anxiety doesn't want to be. And so in this really ironic way, the reason it's bringing up all these calamities and disasters, not because it's your enemy, it's because it wants to feel safe, but it can't feel safe because of anxiety. It's like this coffee could not taste like orange juice. No matter how much it wants to, it's coffee. Anxiety is anxious. That's what it is. It wants to feel safe, but it's not going to feel safe because that's the voice of it. For our purposes here, there's nothing you can do about making anxiety feel safe, but you can choose whether you're going to the thoughts that you think and the behaviors that you take. Are you doing it while you're resonating with anxiety? So what do I mean by that? The thoughts that you think and the actions that you take, are you trying to make anxiety feel safe so it'll go away and you feel better? How's that worked out? Usually not so well. Because now you're not coming from your I am place, your power place. You're now coming from the anxiety place, which is anxiety, which is trying to feel safe, which will never be satiated. Sometimes it gets temporarily, hey Cheryl, how you doing? Temporarily kind of tones down a little bit, but it never goes away because coffee is always going to be coffee. It's never going to be orange juice. So that anxiety is always going to be there. So when you take behaviors or think thoughts to try and sort of satiate that anxiety, make it feel safe, it's going to backfire every single time. So that's kind of, for me, the first strategy is identifying what it is. Don't listen to it. Right? It's going to be there. You're going to hear it, but you don't have to give it your focus, your attention. The second one is your choices in that moment. And usually, and this, it's like you're fighting your intuition here, or intuition is the right word. It's this automatic thing that you try and do to get rid of this pain. A thought that you think, an action that you take, is don't take the action. Because 90% of the time, it's not going to do what you want it to do. It's not going to make anxiety feel safe. It usually just makes things worse, because that's the vibrational set point you're coming from. So your actions are trying to sort of appease anxiety, and it's never going to work. It just feeds it more. So pause. The first thing you're going to do is just pause. I was going to say chill out, which is damn near impossible when that's happening. But just pause. Just stop. I know it's uncomfortable. I know anxiety is going, oh my God, we're going to die. We're going to die. If we don't do this, we're going to die. We're going to die, right? Just stand fast. Don't fight with it. Don't try and make it feel safe, because it can't. Just stand. And just pause. Whether it's focusing on your breathing, whatever you can do to not focus on it. And what I will sometimes do, just refuse to be moved by it. And in a way, call it out. You know what? No, this calamity that's going to happen, this, you screwed up, you'll never make it better. This, the world's going to end, this, whatever, right? Whatever it is. That's just not right. Because I'm not going to listen to that. Because that's not logic. That's not facts. That's definitely not intuition. That's the voice of anxiety speaking. And I don't have to give it my power. I'm just going to pause. I'm going to pause. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to pause. And any actions that I take are not going to come from that place. They're going to come from your I am place. The last thing, and I'll close with this, is anxiety wants you to act now, because it wants to be appeased, right? It wants to feel safe. And so there's this urgency. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Fight that. Fight that instinct. There's the word I was looking for. And just pause. Just hold off. And as you practice doing this, what you will find is those voices will fade off. They might not disappear, but that will start to fade off. And now, maybe there are some things you need to do, but now you're doing them from this place, your I am place, your place of power, not the place of anxiety. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. That was really good. It's such a powerful understanding of this thing, because anxiety is, especially now, and you know me, I'm not a big fan of labels, but anxiety is everywhere. You hear it everywhere. It's kind of like it's epidemic that so many people are dealing with it. And to know what it is, and to know how to manage and probably combat it is just as real, is so important. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Share. We're all in this together. See you on the web.